Welcome to RetroWolf Podcast episode number 19. In today's episode, I am joined by JerryTerrifying. How you doing today, Jerry?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Hey, pretty good, man. Pretty good. Just, working. Been editing a video. Actually, I recorded two videos today, and I've been editing one of them before we started the podcast. So, never a dull moment, man.
That's one of the things that I appreciate about your content, that the focus, the passion, and the
Yep.
drive that you have a goal and you're going after it.
Yep.
And I can absolutely understand the constant around the clock hustle.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. And you know what? To be honest with you, it helps keep me sane. It helps me keep my sanity just to have something creative to work on to keep myself busy. You know what I mean? And it keeps me out of trouble too.
Well, idle hands are the devil's workshops. Absolutely true. It's good to have something to stay focused on.
Yes, sir. You got that shit right, man. So, how about you, man? So, there's probably some people in my audience that may not know who you are. So, if you don't mind, just kind of tell people a little bit about yourself and maybe talk about your YouTube channel and what you've got going on there here lately.
Let's see. Back in, I think, 2006, I started a YouTube channel, and that's when video blogging was popular. The kids back then called it vlogging. So I would just, turn on my camera, say something stupid, and that was that. And around 2009, I just posted a video about Sega Genesis, and that one took off. And I was like, oh, okay, this is what people are interested in.
Hmm.
So then I started talking more and more about video games. And then by, about 2009 or so, I just started focusing on video game stuff. That was
Yeah.
the big thing on YouTube at the time and something I was interested in talking about. And I think 2010, I started a podcast, and then a little later, maybe 2011, I started MondoCool TV, which is my project that I'm always working on and never finishing. I've got like 5 episodes out that I started like 5 years ago. And, but that's my passion project that, I put in a lot of research, a lot of effort. The Mondo Coolcast podcast was pretty cool at a time, like 2011-12. It was weekly live, saw a lot of action. And as the years have gone on, now I've got a 3-year-old and about to be 1-year-old, and that's where most of my time goes. So the job I was at most recently, I did manage to get a little bit of time editing videos on the clock, which is cool. But due to family circumstances, I had to leave the job, and now I'm like full-time stay-at-home dad wrestling these insane babies.
Yeah, and I bet that's a lot of work, man. I don't have kids, so I don't know, but I mean, everybody tells me it's almost a full-time job. So,
One kid's not so bad,
hmm
but 2 kids is more than 2 times the parenting. It's like an exponential growth. And
hmm
I feel as soon as my son's old enough to start walking and be able to play with my daughter, it won't be such a big time investment.
yeah, yeah.
Once they start walking and talking, they can entertain themselves. You just wind them up and throw them outside, and they have a great old time.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt, man. And you know what? Seeing that awesome background of games behind you reminds me and brings back memories, but also reminds me to let the audience know that I actually did a game room tour of Jerry's game room, and we did an interview. This was what was that? Was that 2019 when we did that, or 2018?
The awesome part of your trip to Dayton was it was the day of the mass shooting
Yeah,
downtown at the Oregon district.
yeah,
Um, I'm glad that your dinner plans there were like earlier in the evening.
hmm
Um, so that can timestamp it for whoever wants to look. It was about a year ago, year and a half ago, I think.
yeah.
And the reason I invited you over is I found you on Instagram. Is
hmm
you can't find anyone on YouTube anymore.
Right.
So I find all my cool podcasts and video game people on Instagram now, because you
hmm
can actually find people.
Yeah.
And one of the segments I wanted to do for MondoCool TV was game room tours of other people's stuff. But I don't, I'm not outgoing enough to be like, hey, pal, let me come in your house and look at your toys.
hmm
And so I was like, well, I'll just, since you have that passion and drive, I extended the offer,
hmm
and you came all the way up from where you live
Yep.
to, come check out a couple of game rooms. So that was kind of my motivation for extending the invitation. And it was awesome having you
hmm
out to look at the stuff, because none of
Oh yeah.
my in real life friends care about video games. So everyone I talk to about video games is, you know, through the podcast, through YouTube, through Instagram.
Right.
And yeah, definitely check it out. It's a well-produced game room tour and nice, you know, chat that we had for the interview.
Yeah, and that day was fun, man. Just, you know, the whole day hanging out with Sean and checking out his game room, and then you know, coming back to your game room. But the funny thing is, and I don't know, you know, people may be able to tell this in the video, but by the time we did your game room tour, it was pretty damn late, dude, and we were both pretty tired. I mean, I know I was. I don't know about you, but I know I was. By the time we started filming the interview, man, I was exhausted.
Yeah, it was like 9, 10 o'clock, I think. It was wearing on into the evening. And let's see. Sean, he lives about an hour or so north of here.
Yep.
I don't know. Spent more time there than I thought we would, but and you drove up that morning, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, I drove up that morning.
You were feeling it a lot harder than I was. I was getting 3 more hours of sleep while you were on the road. So I can imagine. Yeah. The marathon effort that was.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. Every time I do one of these game room tours, I have it in my idea, okay, this is only going to take X number of hours. And then whenever I start doing it, it never fails. It always takes longer than I think it's going to take. So I need to start over projecting how long I think it's going to take.
I've given you one piece of advice that you said was good, that when you're doing the like panning shots of a game, you're never going slow enough.
Right.
You can always speed it up. And the other thing, this isn't my advice. This is something I got off a Facebook group for independent filmmakers. But when they're telling people how long they think a project's going to take, double it and add half is the rule of thumb. So once I started doubling it and adding half, you start getting a way more accurate projection of how much time you're actually going to sink into it.
That makes sense, because the most recent game room tour that I did, we didn't get to do the interview the same day that we filmed the game room tour because we ran out of time. So I had to come back about a week later and film the interview. So yeah, I think I'm actually going to follow what you just said. That's actually a good piece of advice. Just
that was something that when I read it, it's like, this makes a lot of sense. And it gets you a lot closer to the ballpark. Now that last game room tour, did he say he built that on as an addition or like a separate building on his property?
Yep, external building. It's nice too, man.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I would have liked to seen some exteriors of that.
Yeah, I was going to, but unfortunately the day that we filmed, it was raining, and then the day that we filmed the interview, it was dark because we filmed it at night, so I didn't get to get any exterior shots.
Just something I was curious about, and he built that himself, I think he said, or
he had,
or did he have it contracted, or
he had somebody build the building for him. It was relatively cheap too. You know how much it cost him to have it built, and then he finished the inside.
It's got my head spinning. It's like I would like to have my own separate place to store all my crap. It would be awesome, man. He's got me wanting to do it now too, but I just don't have the money right now. Maybe one day. But yeah, everybody, so I'll leave a link to Jerry's game room tour and interview in the description down below. So be sure and check that out. I think you'll really enjoy it. So Jerry, I want to ask you, man, what all games have you been playing lately, man? Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Ooh, is that good?
It's awesome. I've been wrapped up in it, and usually I start a game, get about halfway through, set it down, and go do something else. And then like in a few years I'll pick it up. And this is the first modern game that I've bought near launch in I don't know how many years. It's just something I saw on Instagram. And I've played a little bit of the series before. I played 1 and 2 on the PS2. I know at one point Yakuza 2 on PS2 was rare and expensive. I don't know if that's still the case, but there's just a couple of impulse purchases out of the Walmart $20 bin. So I played those back in the day, and then I haven't played any of the PS3 or PS4 games. And I saw the launch trailer, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy this. This looks fun. And it's fun. It's got that Sega charm. And it's lots of Dragon Quest references. Dragon Quest is one of my favorite series. If you follow my Instagram, you'll see lots of slimes and whatnot. That's just been one of the things I've really focused on. So I've actually been playing a PS4 game, which is usually not what I would say. I'd usually be like, I'm playing some Japanese import for the SG-1000 that no one's ever heard of. And but yeah, I've been playing a lot of that, and Sheeran the Wanderer. The fifth one in the series came out on the Switch and Steam recently, and I've been looking at it. So I bought the DS remake of the first one, and I've been playing that. So that's what I've been spending the most time with.
I'm glad you mentioned that game because I brought that game up in my upcoming Switch video for December, upcoming Switch games in December. How is that game? Is it pretty good? It looked awesome.
How familiar with roguelikes are you?
Oh yeah, I love roguelikes, man.
Okay, then you'd probably like it. It's made by Chunsoft. They're the developers that made the first 5 Dragon Quests,
Oh,
and it's
nice.
part of the Mystery Dungeon series. So if you're familiar with any of the Pokemon Mystery Dungeons,
Yeah.
those are all part of the same series. It's got like 30 games in it.
Yeah.
So there's a couple Dragon Quest spin-offs. There's the Pokemon spin-offs, and then Sheeran the Wanderer is their own original character with the same Mystery Dungeon format. So I mean, if you're comfortable with dying and starting at level 1 a lot, and the randomly generated dungeons, as long as you know what you're going into. A lot of people think, oh, this is a JRPG. They're like, what? I died and don't have my sword? This sucks. And then turn it off.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're into it, like I said, I've only played the first one on the DS. I probably will be getting the Switch version at some point. I hear there's going to be a limited runs physical release, so I'll
nice.
wait for that.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. That's awesome. Yeah, one of the things that really caught my attention about the game is the art style because it really kind of reminded me of a Super Nintendo game as far as the graphical style.
Yeah, the first Mystery Dungeon game was a Dragon Quest spin-off on the Super Famicom, and then the original Sheeran the Wanderer was on the Super Famicom. That was the second game in the series.
Yeah.
Mystery Dungeon games, so it does harken back to that style, which I like. Some of the other ones, like I just recently started getting into it because people were talking about Sheeran the Wanderer 5, and I like to play games in order. The second one's on N64, and then the third one's on the Wii, and then the fourth one's on PSP. So the series is all over the place.
Wow.
And all sorts of different graphical styles.
Yeah.
And so most of them, only the odd numbered ones have been released in America, which I think is unusual.
Yeah, that is weird.
So I don't know. That's what I've been like interested in here recently.
Nice. I'm glad that you mentioned Yakuza Like a Dragon though, because I actually started playing Yakuza 0 on the PS4. It was it's probably about 5 months ago. I didn't finish it, but I was really enjoying the game. But Yakuza Like a Dragon is more of an RPG game, right?
Yeah, it is turn-based.
Turn-based. Yeah.
If it feels like a Yakuza game, so like you're not running around Kamurocho, you're running around. I should know this, Yokohama, and so it's in a little bit of a different location. Your main character gets betrayed by his Yakuza boss, and then he spends 20 years in prison because he took the fall for something he didn't do.
Yeah.
He gets out, and then his boss doesn't have the time of day. 20 years have gone by. Everything's upside down. So they shoot him and leave him in Yokohama, and you have to start there as a homeless guy.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so like a bum kind of takes you under the wings. It's like, if you look under vending machines, you can find loose change, and you're like collecting cans and
nice
early on in the game. And then it's got lots of Dragon Quest references. The main character talks about being a fan of Dragon Quest and wanting to be a hero and starting his redemption arc. So you build a party, and you get drawn into a bunch of nonsense, as is pretty standard in the Yakuza games. Like you just things keep escalating and getting worse, and then you got like all the silly side missions, and there's a lot of game there. And you can go into the arcade and play Virtua Fighter 5. They have a full,
really?
Yes, you can access it from the main menu and play 2-player full-on Virtua Fighter 5, which I thought was pretty cool. Virtua
cool.
Fighter 2's in there, a couple other the classic ones, Space Harrier, Outrun, Hang On. So you can find those out in the arcades, and
nice.
Mahjong. Like if you're familiar with Yakuza, there's like tons of crap you can waste time on.
Oh yeah.
There's like a go-kart mini game. Just tons of stuff. So I'm about 25 hours into it, and I'm on like chapter 6. So I've been spending lots of time doing everything and just really soaking it in. And it's not often that a game grabs a hold of me like that. So I would highly recommend it if you got a current gen, or I believe it's going to be released eventually on PS5 and all the now current gen consoles at some point. So I would highly recommend
Nice.
Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Yeah, sounds like you're getting your money's worth out of it, so that's cool.
Absolutely.
Man. Yeah. Let's see. What have I been playing? I'm usually, dude. I'm usually playing like 3 games at once. I'm usually playing something on the GameCube, something on the Switch, and then something on like the PS4 or Xbox One or something like that. So, on the GameCube, speaking of Sega, on the GameCube, I'm playing Super Monkey Ball 2 because I'm making an episode of GameCube Gallery on it. I actually just finished editing an episode of GameCube Gallery on the first Super Monkey Ball, so I'm jumping right into the second one. I'm doing an episode on that. And then I'm playing on the Switch. I'm playing a roguelike game called Hades from the makers of Bastion, and that's a really good game. Hades, I'm really enjoying that so far. And then on the PS5, I've been playing Immortals Phoenix Rising, which is basically Ubisoft's Breath of the Wild clone. And the game is really good. I've put 26 hours into it, and I can't stop playing it, man. It's a really good game. I'm enjoying it quite a bit.
The other thing I forgot, my wife, she's been playing a lot of Animal Crossing. There's been a lot of Animal Crossing in the house.
Yeah.
That just sort of popped into mind. I pulled up a tab. I tried not to type too thunderously loud, but I do have a very clacky keyboard. I hope that didn't pick up too bad. But I'm going to check out Hades. It sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's a cool game, man.
And Monkey Ball is one of those series that I have Monkey Ball 1 and 2 on the shelf back here. And boy, someday it's going to be the day that I play Monkey Ball. I'm going to tear into them.
I'll tell you this, man. Those games, I hope you have patience because those games will piss you off if you don't have patience. Because when you start getting into some of the more difficult courses, oh my God, dude, it is the level of difficulty is just insane, man. You have to practice in that game to be able to beat the later courses.
I've very casually played a few levels here and there.
Yeah.
You know, it's basically just modern Marble Madness with monkeys, and but it being a Sega style arcade game, I imagine it does ramp up in difficulty, and especially being from that generation. I think that generation, GameCube, PS2, Xbox is the last time that they actually made challenging video games.
For the most part, yeah.
Because I remember when was it Demon's Souls came out, everyone's talking about how hard it was, and I mean, like it's a pretty fair challenge.
Yeah.
But I didn't think it was that hard. And I don't know, I used to get into arguments about that, but it struck a chord with people because, you know, that From Software style of game became like so popular after that, because I think it was the first game that had any kind of challenge of that, you know, generation. Like so many video games these days are just, you know, press X to next cutscene, and which is why I usually don't play a lot of modern games anymore. It's why I'm so, you know, fascinated with Yakuza Like a Dragon, and actually plays like a video game, which is nice. Yeah.
I think did you before I say this, did you play Breath of the Wild?
Yeah, I don't know, I'm pretty far into it, but I didn't beat it. See, what are those big temple animal doodads called?
The Guardians.
I think I got 3 out of 4,
the Divine
or something
Beasts.
like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know I didn't get all of them, and I haven't beaten the game yet, but I've sunk some amount of time into it.
Well, and, if you like it, I think you would like Immortals Phoenix Rising, because it's a solid game, man. I'm really enjoying it. And it's it can be pretty challenging too if you bump the difficulty up. If you play it on hard, then it's a fair bit of challenge, man. It's a good game. I like it.
That's one of those pieces of advice that I've seen thrown around forums, is that just any game after PS3 started on hard.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like I remember when Metal Gear Solid Rising came out, a lot of people were saying that game was hard, but I thought it was easy. I'm not good at video games. And I'm just like, you know, I've beaten it on the hardest difficulty, and it's really not that hard. And I don't know.
The only game from the PS2 era that I really the PS2, Xbox, GameCube era that I really thought was very difficult was Ninja Gaiden. That was a pretty challenging game.
I believe I bought this from you, but Maximo, those are those are very challenging.
Yeah, nice.
That classic style of that ghouls and ghosts hard, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I still haven't played those games. I need to. So let me ask you this. So I know you said you're not doing a whole lot of modern gaming right now, but are there any games coming out in the near future or far future that you're looking forward to?
Boy, nothing really off the top of my head. I'm always interested in the next Dragon Quest. I've stepped back how much I even follow video games. One
Gotcha.
of my faithful podcast listeners that interacts with me on social media, if he sees something that he knows is relevant to my interests, he'll tell me about it, and that's
Yeah.
how I find out about most things these days.
Hmm.
I really didn't know anything about Yakuza Like a Dragon until I just happened to see the launch trailer
Right.
recommended on YouTube, and I was like, oh man, this is great. But that's partially because I started a job in February,
Hmm.
and once I got cut loose after training, I was working back-to-back doubles. So, like most of the time I had to play games was at work
Right.
during the quiet hours, and it's just there's a lot going on in the world today. I
Hmm.
also follow current events and stuff,
Hmm.
and I try not to like cross the streams and talk about stuff like that here
Yeah.
because everyone gets so like massively mad about anything that you say. So
Yep.
I try to keep my video games. So I've been more interested in that stuff, and
Hmm.
there's just a lot going on lately. So,
Hmm.
um, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's cool, man. Nothing wrong with that. I think really the only two games that I'm looking forward to right now is Breath of the Wild 2, which is
Hmm.
more than likely coming out next year, and Metroid Prime 4 whenever that ends up coming out, which is probably going to be 2022. That's
Yeah,
going to be my
I
guess.
would be interested in that, and I think the last time I got excited about a new game announcement was Bayonetta 3.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And where did that go?
yeah. I know it.
That kind of disappeared like Metroid
Hmm.
Prime.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, the Game Awards is going to be Thursday night, so hey, who knows? Maybe we'll see something about Bayonetta 3 there or Metroid Prime 4. You never know.
do you watch the Video Game Awards?
Yeah, yeah, I do because I like to see the new game announcements that pop up in there and stuff like that.
I've watched it once or twice and just came to the conclusion that no, I just hate award shows. Like,
Yeah. Right.
even video game ones, even ones relevant to my interests.
Yeah.
Um, I'll just wait till the next day and look at the list of announcements and
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
what's worth my time or not. Um, I hear there's some controversy about The Last of Us 2
Hmm.
um, getting so much critical reception. And I don't know. I feel there's probably better games out than The Last of Us 2, but I haven't played it, so I have, no opinion.
Well,
Honestly.
from my perspective, and this is just my opinion, The Last of Us Part 2 is one of the best games I've played this generation, personally. I
Okay.
loved everything about it, the story, the gameplay, the graphics. I mean, I don't have a single complaint about that game personally. But that's just me, and a lot of people agree
That's
with me,
some
a lot of
buzz.
people
That's
don't.
some buzz that I've heard, but I've never played it.
Yeah. Have you
I
played the
just
first one?
no.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I'm kind of as time goes on, I play
Hmm.
more and more older games.
Yeah.
Um, the cinematic style that's so popular.
Hmm.
There's just a lot of games barely have any gameplay left to them, so I find myself digging into more and more older stuff
Hmm.
as time goes on. And I got real excited and went on a shopping spree at the last job and bought like a whole stack of Game Boy games that have been sitting on my desk
Oh,
forever.
nice.
So something like Mole Mania, there we go.
Yeah.
Now that's an exciting game to talk about. Let's see what else we got. I don't think there's anything else that cool. Roland's Curse.
Mm.
Just a bunch of. I bought a bunch of 2-player games for the
Hmm.
Game Boy because I got a cool 2-player setup. I have 2 Super Game Boy 2s and 2 TVs.
Nice.
So I can, yeah, that's something that I'm more excited
Hmm.
about than, there goes Mole Mania, than modern games.
Hmm.
Um, but that's me. I was on another podcast recently, and we were talking about Ninja Golf,
Hmm.
and one of the things I like about an Atari game is that you can just put it in the system and play it
Yep.
for 15 minutes,
Yep.
which as time goes on, that's reflects more the time I have available.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I bought Yakuza Like a Dragon. It's like, oh, I haven't turned my PS4 on in 9 months. Hold on. Let me do the system update.
Yeah, right.
Let me do this game update.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe in a half an hour, I might get to check out the game before I have to turn it off. And I don't know. It's just stuff like that. Yeah, it's kind of a bummer when you have such little amounts of time. So yeah, I'm really out of the loop on a lot of very modern games, and just I stopped reading the news journalism after boy, I mean, are you even allowed to say this on YouTube? The Gamergate. Why would anyone even listen to games journalists anymore?
Yeah, I know it, dude. I hear that.
It's just, let me beat you over the head with politics. And it's like, guy, I want to play the game. Like, this is about having a good time, not about, you know, being mad. There's so many things in the world to be mad about. And video games shouldn't be one of them.
Dude, tell that to Twitter, man. God. Which we're gonna get into some of that later because I want to get your opinion on a few things. But yeah, man, I agree with you, dude. And the most recent example I can think of is there was I think it was Kotaku. One of their journalists did a review of the PS5, written review, and at the end of the review, he went off on a long freaking rant that had nothing to do with the console. It had to do with the current state of the world.
Did you hear about
the
Xbox review where the girl's like, I have a phobia of circles and the vent grate? There's like some phobia where you're afraid of little like dotted gross stuff, right? And
oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, she claims she has this phobia in the top vent of the Xbox. Lady, what are the features of the console? Like,
right?
It's not like talk about that with your therapist. Go do that with your therapist, lady. What's the resolution? How black is the black on the picture? What's the frame rates? I don't know jargon. Tell me that. Everything's just like, how big of a victim can I be? And I don't know. I really checked out on video game journalists when the Cuphead review where the guy couldn't do the double jump tutorial.
Yes.
You're telling me you're paid to play video games and you don't know how to double jump?
Yep.
Like, I get it. You went to journalist school and you couldn't get a job at the New York Times, but come on, guy. Like, it's showing you on screen how to double jump. It's not rocket surgery. Come on.
Yeah, that was something else right there, man. I remember that when that happened. I was like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, I'll poke my head up every few months and like, oh, it still looks like I got my nightmare vision goggles on. Let me just continue not looking at modern video games journalism.
And this is why, me personally, this is why I don't listen to game critics, because I find that most of the time I don't agree with them. You know what I mean? I'm the type of person where I like to formulate my own opinion about a game. And also, I've been playing games long enough to where I can watch a trailer and some gameplay footage and read information about the game and know if I'm going to like the game or not, and know if it's a game I'm going to enjoy.
What I used to do back in the day when game FAQs was still relevant, I would read the 2 highest rated and the 2 lowest rated.
Yeah.
And figure, I'll get the extreme opinions and be able to figure something out from there. And then YouTube really changed the game. And YouTube was great until they started paying people, because now people start YouTube with, I'm going to be a content creator. Right. It's not, I really like video games and I want to talk about them and I'll use this media to do that. It's, I want to have a media company. What makes a lot of money? Oh, this does. Let's do that. Or, and it's just really soured what was great. So I like to find YouTube channels that have less than 50 subscribers, like real weirdos that have like horrible production values, but they're passionate about video games.
Yeah.
I can appreciate a channel that has good production values. I try to make my videos not look like absolute trash, but, sometimes seeing a schizophrenic guy talk on his phone in the wrong orientation about Metroid is what you need.
Yep.
And you used to, before the advertisements ruined YouTube, the algorithm actually showed you things that were relevant to your interests.
Right.
Now it just shows what will get us the most ad clicks.
Yep.
And so whenever I search anything on YouTube, I turn off, I go to the settings and look up by date uploaded.
Yeah.
And then start scrolling, because then you'll see like videos with just a handful of views. And it's like, let's see what this guy has to say. This guy that's getting 7 views probably isn't selling out or doing a paid product promotion.
Right.
He's probably telling you about something he's excited about.
Yep.
And I want to hear what that guy has to say.
Yep. All right, let's change subjects a little bit here, because I wanted to ask, you did mention MondoCool TV a little bit earlier, but if you could just kind of tell a little bit more about MondoCool TV and what it is, and kind of maybe what some of the plans are for the future, because I love it, man. I think it's a great show you put together. The production is great. I like the way that you present the information, and some of the skits that you throw in there and the interviews that you do. It's good stuff, man. So I want to see more of it.
I'm really proud of the interviews. Those are the ones that I think it actually has that documentary interview style.
Yep.
And for someone that's as incompetent as I am to have cobbled something as decent as that together, I am pretty proud of those. MondoCool TV, okay, let's start at the beginning. My #1 super fan just posted on the forum today or yesterday that it's the 10-year anniversary of MondoCool TV.
Wow.
There's a season 0 that no one should watch, and if you really tried hard enough, you could find it, but don't. The idea was I wanted to do a cable access show. I'm a fan of cable access television, which is it's a playground for weirdos, and it's like baby boomers and Gen Xers will know what cable access is. So because of the First Amendment, everyone has access to media, so your cable provider has to have a cable access channel, and like almost no one uses them anymore. They're disappearing from a lot of places.
Yep.
And the idea was, I got into an internet argument in a YouTube comment section. It's like, they're a real big YouTuber that everyone here would recognize. I think you've actually met him in real life. We'll talk about this off air, because I don't like to talk a lot of shit. But I was arguing with someone in the comments, and they're basically e-begging, which is another thing that I hate on YouTube. This is a hobby. It's not a career. If it was a career, you shouldn't be asking 12-year-old kids to send you their allowance to get a new camera.
Right.
I think that's scummy, but they were e-begging. They're like, well, how else would you come up with the camera? It's like, man, just go to the cable access place. They'll give you an HD prosumer level camera to go monkey around with. So I wanted to make a cable access TV show in the style of a TV show. I came up with a couple of different segments. There's like Just the Tip, where it's, the goal is to make it look like the 80s and 90s tip tapes. You'd get like a VHS compilation. It's like, to beat Milan's secret castle, stand here, turn around 12 times, hit ABAB. That kind of stuff. Yeah. So, and it's a dirty joke. I think you're the first person to get Just the Tip. No one else has ever fucking reacted to that. But anyway, so I had a couple different segments, and then the main meat of the show would be digging into a series, right? Yeah. So the first episode was House of the Dead, and there weren't a lot of interviews, and I've since redone the script because I've found some really good interviews on shmuplations.com, and that's a guy that translates Japanese interviews. So I've actually found a lot of really good information, but there's not a lot of information about the House of the Dead series. That's something I'm really into, light gun games. So the main focus of the first episode is House of the Dead. I go into absolutely everything I could find about that series as my big effort video. And then, throw in a couple different segments, like an interview with the game store owner, Just the Tip. Let's see, what else have I done? Every now and then I'll do something about like a ghost. I think that's funny. Yeah. Like we've got lots of haunted crap here in Dayton. So, just some of our local history and urban legends, let's throw crap like that in because it's a Dayton cable access show. So throwing a little something for the locals. And I actually have like 3 seasons of the show on paper, like in
Oh,
a
wow.
Google document file where like these are places I can go check out, like all the barcades, all the used game stores. Um, like I went to Indianapolis and did an interview with the guy. That one's pretty decent. Um, and that's like something I really worked hard on. And I've got about 5 more episodes that are like somewhere between 50 and 80% done.
Oh, wow.
They just need a few finishing touches here and there. And just it's a matter of as time becomes available. And then now I also want to redo that House of the Dead segment to make it, a little more in line with the rest of the episodes and to beef out some of that information now that better interviews and information has emerged. But that's MondoCool TV in a nutshell. It's just a 30-minute TV show style thing that actually has aired on the cable access station here in Dayton. So it has been on actual honest to goodness TV.
That's
I saw
awesome.
it with my own eyes. I'm probably the only person that did, but it has been on television in this county.
That's awesome, man.
So that's basically MondoCool TV.
So when can we expect to see a new episode?
There's a fellow YouTuber, West Gross Customs. Back when YouTube was fun 10 years ago, he used to post some entertaining videos. And now he owns a used game store in a mall down in Cincinnati. And I bought a few new cool toys. Like I bought a camera slider so I can get some really steady
Nice
shots. Before I left my job, I bought a bunch of crap for MondoCool TV. And I would like to go down there and film an interview with him because that's someone I've known from YouTube. I've never met him in real life, but I figured that'd be cool to go meet with him. And there's always like a secret agenda that I have for these interviews. I'm kind of gathering information on how they run their businesses.
Yeah.
Because everyone in our hobby, I'm sure you've thought of it. Wouldn't it be cool to own a game store?
Oh, yeah.
Just have people bring their crap to you. And so when I'm doing the interviews, you see if 2 to 5 minutes of it, but I also ask them a bunch of questions about like behind the scenes shit, how they run their business, this, that, what's their trade rates,
Right.
and just sort of like doing market research for my own curiosity. I think I would be a horrible used game store guy because I have a problem with charging people eBay prices. And I would also get high on my own supply. Like if something really cool comes in, like, I want to keep that. It's mine now.
Yep.
So I don't think I would be good at it, but I'm kind of interested in Wes's store because he started it a little over, year and a half ago. And he's actually been profitable through the COVID-19 thing.
Nice.
And still in business. So I'm kind of curious about that.
Yeah.
And operating inside of a mall, there are some absolutely horrifying malls in Cincinnati. There's one that has a real big arcade and like 2 other stores, and it's like it's like was it Dawn of the Dead? It's like Dawn of the Dead in there, man. It's like huge empty mall and like one arcade. So like you'll be walking through one of the abandoned hallways. It's like a quarter mile long, and then you just hear like screaming from the arcade echoing through the rafters. It's real spooky.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the scene is, down where you live, but here like a lot of the malls are just empty. Yeah. And so I don't know. I'd like to work on an episode, do that. I got a couple of, I've got a folder, a hard drive full of just the tips and other segments that are completed that it's just, do I have the time to set up the green screen and film the host segments to put one together and get it out? Boy, I wish I could get one done in the next few months. That'd be super.
Yeah. I get it, man. I get it. I mean, especially, since you have kids and everything, I would imagine that complicates things quite a bit.
Yeah. The 11-month-old requires a lot of hands-on time.
Yeah.
And then, I'm trying to like change his butt for the 19th time today. And then my 3-year-old's swinging off the rafters like, Dad, let's go to the park. Take me on a bike ride. Let's make macaroni art. And it's like, kid, like just take a breath.
Yeah.
Take a breath for a minute, please.
Yeah, you mean you're not being like other parents and just handing your kid an iPad and saying, "Here you go, occupy yourself."
No. when I have the kids, they get very, very little to no TV or screen time. I like to read to her.
Yeah.
Today I read a crusty old book, a really old children's book that was nice. It was just pleasant. In the evenings, we let her have a popsicle and she watches a little bit of Dora the Explorer, which is really inoffensive. A lot of these kids' cartoons that are made today, I absolutely would not let my child watch because they're just like heathen trash. And so I really try to limit that. And that's one of the hard things I had when I was working at the last job. I was a police dispatcher, which requires a lot of time. So once I got cut loose, I was working overtime, and it was killing me not being there with my newborn son.
Yeah.
And, with my daughter that, last year, every day in the summer, I took her to the park. I threw her in the bike trailer and, hung out with the park moms. And, we talked about kids and stuff and having her get all the sunshine. And then I had my mom watching the kids, and she has like mobility issues, so she's not able to take them to the park and let them, so now Macy, my daughter, was like getting stir crazy and, becoming a butthole because she's used to getting all that energy out. And she's settled down since I've quit doing that. But, I thought I was going to have more time to work on MondoCool TV.
Yeah.
Turns out I had more time when I was working 16-hour shifts at dispatch to work on the show. I bought a decent gaming laptop and I edited a few videos on the clock and worked on the next MondoCool TV here and there. But I just do not have a lot of time, and then in the evenings, once my wife gets off work, there's just a few hours left in the day and I'm exhausted and I need to just sit down and be quiet and not, working hard on something. As my son, starts to walk, I think it'll ease up a lot because then they can really just entertain each other. And then I can bust out the laptop and maybe, observe from afar as they monkey around in the backyard and do a little editing. But I'm gonna have to find something part-time because working 60 to 80 hours a week, it wasn't cutting it.
Man, yeah, that's rough. That is
rough.
Great,
man. Let me tell you about the impulse purchases. You're sitting, you're sitting and it's like, oh man, I'm making time and a half for the next 8 hours. Let's see how much of that I can burn on eBay. And quite a bit. I bought a lot of bullshit. And that's a hard habit to break. Just anything I want, click.
Hell yeah. That is tough, man. Well, listen, when the next episode of MondoCool TV gets out, man, let me know. I'll be there for it because I like the show quite a bit. I mean, that's how I found you, is through MondoCool TV. So
absolutely. Every now and then, I'll see on Instagram, someone will mention a game that I covered. Just the other day, someone mentioned Rolling Thunder, and I'm right there on Instagram, hey, check out episode 2 of MondoCool TV. It's awesome. That's probably the one I would recommend people check out. If you're going to watch one episode of MondoCool TV, watch the second episode, the one about Rolling Thunder. It's got some of my higher effort in production, and it's an interesting game series that not a lot of people talk about. So I just like to talk about Rolling Thunder every chance I get. It is more influential than people realize. I would say check that one out.
Very cool, man. Very cool. So I wanted to ask you this. You have a very interesting take on how social media has impacted the retro gaming market that I don't hear a lot of people talk about. So if you don't mind, just kind of talk about, some of your thoughts on how social media has affected the prices of retro games and just the retro gaming market as a whole.
I've been collecting, going out of my way to buy old games for 20 years now, maybe a little more. And back then, you basically couldn't give this crap away. The one game store I used to go to, they just had flat rate. Nintendo $2, Super Nintendo $3.
Oh man,
and it was awesome, dude. I got so many cool games. I think the only one that's like a real steal that I brag about is Ninja Gaiden Trilogy. Paid $3 for that, and then one day I looked it up on Amazon. I was like, well, this goes for over $100. God knows what it goes for now. 10 years ago, like 2008, everyone was going broke and selling stuff off, and Craigslist was a gold mine. You know, I got Saturn Bomberman for $30 complete. Just stuff like that all day, every day.
Yeah.
Well, now you've got a finite supply, but you got huge YouTubers that have this huge influence on was it Generation Z, Millennials and Generation Z. So like there's some kid I found on Instagram who's like 16. It's like, I collect Sega Saturn. Why? what possible interest could you have in that?
Yeah.
But they see people talk about it and they're like, oh, well, actually Burning Rangers is really cool. And they're like, yeah, okay, you got a point. It is a pretty cool game, but there's like 500 copies.
Right.
So now you've got just an infinitely growing amount of people interested in this. And I know what you're talking about. I got into like, I guess it's an Instagram debate, you know, like when you get like 3 paragraphs of Instagram text, you know, someone's pissed. I get excited and I like to yell about stuff, but in that conversation, I mentioned a few of these social media takes. It's just such a bizarre market right now, man. I'm gonna keep waiting for the bubble to bust, but people keep getting interested in it. Oh no, I saw this horrible new thing. So it used to be like people would argue about, well, I play games, I collect, and then there were shelf collectors, right? People want this shit right here.
Yep.
There are people on YouTube that like put like 6 copies of Madden 94 on their shelf just to fatten it out so that it looks like they have a good collection, right? I saw the most heinous thing on Instagram. He's talking about investing in video games, an investment. Now, you go back a couple years ago, people started selling these like graded video games, like you put it in a little plastic coffin, and there's a really good video. Because now you can't mess with it.
Yep.
The point of a game is to play it, not to have it. Now, don't get me wrong. I love looking at this crap. I think that looks sweet.
It does.
Right? But every one of those games is like, I got it for a deal. I got it at a yard sale. And it's just added up over almost 40 years. Right? I have every one of my games from when I was a kid. I sold very few of them. The few things I sold, I regret. But it's not an investment.
Right.
These people that, I mean, it may work out for them. You get people that go on eBay and they buy up every copy of a game.
Oh, I know,
and
dude.
they do it to inflate the market. So now they control the Panzer Dragoon, right? 2008, 9, somewhere around there, I passed up a copy of Panzer Dragoon Saga for $145. I've been kicking myself over it ever since. I told a forum buddy, like, hey, this is a pretty good deal at that time. It's a few bucks less than what it was going for. And now I saw one on Instagram, some used game store with a $1,000 sticker on a Panzer Dragoon Saga. Ooh. Because there's so few copies, some butthole on eBay can buy up all the $500 copies, and now he's the king of Panzer Dragoon Saga.
Yep.
You want a real copy? That'll be $1,000, please.
Yep.
And unfortunately, dumbasses pay this. I don't know why. So I saw someone that's talking about video games as an investment, and most of these markets, I think the most comparable would be like comic books and toys, right? And you see those come and go in waves, right? Like the big interest in video games right now is like N64 and GameCube era, right? Because the kids that grew up with those are now in their 30s,
right?
And they have money to burn, and be like, I missed this when I was a kid. There are younger kids like that 16-year-old that for some reason is interested in Sega Saturn. I would be willing to guess that not most 16-year-olds are interested in Sega Saturn.
Right.
So eventually that interest is going to go away. Like Atari collecting was huge in the 90s, right? Because that was retro gaming then. And, you know, baby boomers and Gen Xers were at that age, but now no one gives a shit about Atari games.
Yeah. Right.
Now they're mostly worthless. except for like the few collectible titles. But as time goes on, they get less and less. You know, people die, they sell off their collections. So I don't know. Anyone that's investing in video games, you deserve to go broke and, you know, be poorly treated in a retirement home when when that scheme doesn't work out for you.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of this has to do with social media.
Yep.
That graded video game collectors grading, VGA, whatever it is, that puts in the little coffin. People get like, you know, a common game, put it in this coffin and ask for like $200. I mean, you can find that shit at flea markets. You can find that shit at like garage sales for like $1 if you put the time into it. And it's just insane to me. There's a really good video that breaks down how those graded cases are worthless. Some people, they'll take the card apart inside of those cases. I believe infrared light destroys the ROM chip. Like you're destroying the game by doing this shit.
Jeez.
And but people pay $80 to have it graded. By who? Some guy that just happened to figure out the scam before anyone else did. You can grade a game. Does it look pretty good? Does it look like trash? 10 out of 10. Like it's, what are you paying for? So I think a lot of this stuff happens because of social media. So, you know, some guys like, look what I paid. I paid $500 for this graded copy of Common Trash. And then some other well-meaning buffoon will see that and go, oh, well, I'll pay good money for well-graded trash. And so you just investing in video games, preposterous. Absolutely preposterous. Like, children's toys are not an investment.
Right.
You deserve to go broke if your portfolio is heavy in children's toys.
Yeah, see, that's the wrong reason to get into buying retro games. You know, to me, the right reasons are you want to play the games, you want to preserve the games, you know, for game preservation, history, that sort of thing, but not because you want to invest. You know, if you're planning on just turning around and just selling them one day to make a profit.
Well, you know, I hate resellers because I am an avid garage seller. You can still find it if you have time. I haven't gone the past year or two because of the kids, because of job obligations. I only went a couple times last year, and I, you know, found a couple Super Nintendos and a couple N64s for like $1. Like, I mean, this stuff's still out there if you put in the time. And but you know, fair enough. Like, I like to have the real thing, but you know, I like to not pay for it. When I was working at Dispatch, my opinion changed a little bit. I was able to just be like, "Ah, screw it.
Yeah,
I make that in 15 minutes. Click, click, click." So that was kind of a nice feeling to be on that end of collecting. But I like putting in the footwork and seeing what's actually out there. Those are better stories, you know, like, well, you know, it's 4 a.m. and I was thinking about Devilish on the Sega Genesis and I added it to my cart. Not that great of a story.
Nope.
Talking about like awesome garage sale finds, man, I love that. That's a good time to me. One of my favorite ones from last year, I found 3 N64s last year, like on 1 week of yard sailing. And I found one, and it had like Mario Kart, GoldenEye, Diddy Kong Racing, Smash Brothers.
Damn.
And I think like Rayman for PS1, right? And I'm like, hey, lady, you take $5 for this? $5 is my magic number, right?
Yeah, yeah.
$5 is where I start for everything. You take $5 for this? Oh, I don't know. That's my son's. I don't know. Let me give him a call. And I'm like, fuck, here we go. He's going to look it up. So she calls him up, and he's acting like a butthole. He's like, what do you want, Mom? Why are you waking me up? Oh, what the fuck? Oh, come on. And she's like, he's like arguing with her. And, you know, after a minute of this, she's like, you know what? $5 sounds great. I'm like, awesome. See you later, lady. Let's get out of here before you change your mind. And so remember that, everybody. Your mom calls you. Be nice. She might be dealing with your precious childhood memories with some, you know, yard sailor who's got $5 for your precious childhood memories. Those were a lot of good N64 titles I added to my collection. And, but more often than not, you know, what I hear is, hey, you got any video games? It's, oh yeah, some guy just bought them. He runs the game store. I sold them for $10. So that's why I don't like resellers, because they go out and, you know, I'm willing to put in the work for the deals,
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, so are they, but they're just going to mark it up to
Right.
eBay prices and
Mm-hmm.
profit off of it, which, you know. So, you know, I'm not wild about that, but I get it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it just makes it more exciting having the competition out there, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of used game stores
Mm-hmm.
in this area. I don't know if it's more than usual, but I don't know how many of them are hanging in there from COVID times,
Right.
but you know, within easy, you know, 15 minutes driving distance, there's like 6 or 7
Mm-hmm.
independent used game stores. Couple of arcades. I know
Mm-hmm.
one of them went out of business, and I hate those people, so I'm not really mourning their loss. They were kind of scumbags,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know, it's just really wild how things have changed.
Yeah.
Social media influencers, you know, I don't like the people that get paid to promote things,
Mm-hmm.
so that you think it's word of mouth, but you know they're being paid to promote a product.
Right.
That kind of is a bummer. If you're old enough, you may remember fanzines, like Xeroxed magazines that people used to make in the 80s and 90s. And the same thing happened in the 90s, where video game companies saw these bigger fanzines. And they're like, oh, okay, well, we'll take you out to dinner and go, like, you know, play bumper carts or whatever. Will you review our racing game?
Yeah.
You get stuff like that now. With YouTubers, where they'll wine you, dine you, put you on a plane, take you here and there if you got enough subscribers and enough influence. And you know, that's unfortunate, but it's happened before in print. It's happened on YouTube. It's happened on Instagram. It's just kind of the way of the world. But you know, at the beginning of these things, you know, 15 years ago, YouTube was a lot cooler, I
Yeah.
think.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. And I wish I had gotten into it 15 years ago, honestly.
Yeah, if I had half as much production
Mm-hmm.
value from now, then I'd probably be sitting on 5 million subscribers. And God, remember when Metal Jesus Rocks? Remember when he begged people to pay for him, his wife, and his friend to go on a vacation? He's like, I need $50,000 to rent an RV and go buy toys. How many of you kids want to donate for me to go have a pretty cool vacation with my pal, get some beers? You get to watch the video of it later. It's a good deal. Send me
Right.
$100, please.
Right.
You know, that's not what YouTube's supposed to be about. It's supposed to be, you know, a hobby.
I would not
You know?
feel comfortable doing that, man. I would not. I would feel, dude. I would feel scummy doing that. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that at
The
all. I don't like asking
backlash,
people for money, man.
the
Oh,
backlash to that was hot, heavy, and immediate,
I'll
and that's
bet.
why he left the All Gen Gamers. Um, and it's just e-begging's a bad look. I mean, now it's real popular for people to have Patreon. People have given me unsolicited donations. Be like, hey man, I really like the show.
Yeah.
Here's $10 to your PayPal. Fine.
Right.
I've never asked for it. People
Right.
have offered it many times. I've had people that listen to the podcast, you know, offer me like cool stuff. And I'm like, are you sure you want to give me cool stuff? And they're like, yeah, man, just, you know, make a video about it. So, okay.
Yeah.
And that's fine, because that's, you know, someone sees value in what you're doing and they offer it.
Right.
Giving them an avenue with something like Patreon, that's fine. But there's a certain way that sometimes they do. I feel they're crossing the line, and
Yeah.
that Metal Jesus Rocks one, I feel like really crossing the line, because there's a lot of impressionable like teenagers, kids in their 20s.
Oh yeah.
Like, I really love Metal Jesus Rocks. This guy's awesome. Hell yeah, I want him to have an amazing vacation and take 3 months off of work. Like, come on, guy.
Man.
Like, I don't know. It's just some of these things people come up with, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it. Yeah. Yeah, as far as Patreon goes, I don't really have a problem with Patreon as long as the person with a Patreon is offering value through their Patreon. If they're offering something where if the person's donating money to one of their Patreon tiers, if that person is getting something that is of equal value to what they're donating, I don't have a problem with it. But if it's some of these Patreons where they're not really getting shit, that's when I start to have a problem with it.
Did you ever watch Classic Game Room?
Oh yeah, dude, I love Classic Game Room. Yeah,
Right.
love that channel.
the dumpster fire that is Classic Game Room these days. He went off the rails hard like 2 or 3 years ago.
Really?
And when's the last time you watched a Classic Game Room video?
The only ones that I watch really are like older videos if I'm looking up,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I still, if I look up a game and I see a CGR, I'm like, hey, let me check this out.
Mhm.
And now it's the last time I looked was a few months ago. He's doing classic 80s comics or something. He'll just like look at an old issue of G.I. Joe and talk about. He was doing like pencil and eraser reviews that are like 10 seconds long.
What?
Oh, dude, look up what happened to CGR. So anyway, that's a good homework project for anyone that's interested to see what happened to Mark the past few years. But just on a whim this past week, what made me think of this is I looked at his Patreon. There's still 153 people that I guess forgot to cancel their Patreon or really like the pencil and eraser reviews. Yeah, they get like 15, 20 views. Like he just completely tanked his channel because he couldn't keep up with the times.
Right.
And, I think part of what it was is he had that like warehouse or whatever. He bought an El Camino. He just spent a lot of money and thought like, I'm making a TV show, so I have to have a studio. You look at what his videos are like. I mean, he could have done that out of the garage. Could have done that out of the house.
I mean, he doesn't even get on camera, does he? Most of it's just game B-roll.
A
with
lot of
voiceover.
them. He got really salty about other YouTubers using his captured footage for their like top 10 lists or whatever.
Yeah.
So he started doing more videos where he'll sit in front of a TV playing it mixed with captured gameplay towards the like 2015 like era of Classic Game Room. And he just really failed to keep up with it. But what made me think of that is, so like the past 2 years or so, Classic Game Room's been dead. And I just happened to click on it, and I happened to click on his Patreon, and the lowest subscription amount is $2. So he's getting at least $300 a month from people who I think just probably forgot to cancel it.
Yeah.
And because he's like for real doing pencil and eraser reviews.
Wow,
like
that's
looking at old copies of G.I. Joe.
Yeah. Wow, that's something else, man.
But that's one of those things that, people forget to cancel stuff like that. Patreons, it's like they don't notice.
Yep.
$1 or $2. I'll send you a link to one of these pencil reviews.
That's
Pentel High Point Polymer Eraser Review.
Why?
51 seconds, 4,000 views.
Why is he doing that? I don't understand.
There's in every one of his videos, there's comments like, please, Mark, bring back Classic Game Room. He started doing the comic books like with like Edit Station 1 and Ethel the Cyborg, right? People like went along with it and bought it for a laugh, right? He had a huge following. So I imagine some people did buy it. So I think, he's got it in his head that people value his art to some degree. And I'm sure there's a few mad lads out there that do. But that just kind of blew my mind that there's still people paying his Patreon when like looking at the last let's see, going back about 10 months, it's all comic book videos. Goro the Wanderer number 3, Dark Hawk, Alpha Flight, just old 80s comics. And he talks about them like Classic Game Room style, I'm sure. And I don't know, 825 views on this one. Like, can you imagine Classic Game Room getting less than 1,000 views on a video? Like, that guy used to be the best.
Well, that's a shame, man. It is a shame. I guess it
I
happens.
don't know. It's kind of an interesting story to watch these things happen. And then he started selling off these games, and it just kind of rubs me the wrong way because how many of these games were donated by
Right.
people that wanted him to have it, and like people would give him some pretty high quality titles.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I guess, you know, you can't hold on to them forever, but
Mm-hmm.
necessarily, but that also kind of sucks, you know?
Yeah. Let me ask you
Cube's
this.
weird.
Let me ask you this, man. And this doesn't really happen with retro games because retro games are retro. They came out a long time ago. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But what do you think about the whole scalping market that's going on these days, man? Because to be
Um,
honest, it pisses me the fuck off. I can't stand scalpers, man.
Well, there's a couple things people could do. So the scalpers are using bots,
Yep.
right, to go and purchase high amounts of this product. So
Yes.
retailers could implement things to weed out the bot purchases,
Right.
right? They could
Right.
absolutely do that. They could also Nintendo kind of pioneered this in the 80s with the artificial scarcity, where it's
Mm-hmm.
like, we'll release some so that there's news stories about some lady getting shot in a parking lot over a new Nintendo, this or that, or
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation, so that we get a lot of buzz, word of mouth. Oh man, this is the hot item this year?
Mm-hmm.
So it's intentional that they have these supply shortages
Mm-hmm.
early on in a console life. Now, I get why you bought launch edition stuff. You're doing YouTube, you're into
Right.
it, you're
Right.
passionate, you want to be there, you want to have the content day
Mm-hmm.
one. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Me, having always been frugal, let's say, the hardware failures are going to be
Mm-hmm.
in the
Oh
first
yeah.
batch of systems,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
So I like to wait for the first revision to come out.
Right.
And you know, I also like to collect. Well,
Mm-hmm.
in 5-10 years, I'm going to be able to find a PS5 at a yard sale for $50.
Oh yeah.
You
Easy.
know,
Mm-hmm.
to get the different versions.
Mm-hmm.
So I get why you're doing it, and that's cool. And you know, I'd like to have those things, but I can wait. You know, I'm like
Yeah,
I
there's
said,
really no
I'm less and
reason.
less excited for it.
Right now,
But
there's really no reason. There aren't many
like
games to play on them right now.
most of the games are going to be just higher spec versions of.
Right. Right.
Like I said, I think in a couple months, early in 2021, Yakuza Like a Dragon's coming to PS5, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be, you know, I could have just as easily bought it on Steam,
Right.
right? And get that same performance,
Mm-hmm.
plays with the controller. And as the hardware generations wear on, like PS4, Xbox One, the distinguishing factor between them and PC is really starting to go away.
Yeah.
But it sucks. It's scummy. It's Christmas time.
Mm-hmm.
Stop. You know, I get why people are doing it. They can do it and make money. But I
Mm-hmm.
also have seen lots of news stories where people are screwing with them,
Yeah.
which I had this idea. I never followed through with it, but like I said, I'm an avid yard sailor, and I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I went hard. I do like 50, 60 yard sales a week.
Mm-hmm.
I used to keep track of it. I used to log my fines in a spreadsheet,
Nice.
what I paid, what it was worth, all this.
Yeah.
I did that one season just to see how much ahead I was coming, and I was coming
Mm-hmm.
out ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And but I kept running into this problem where resellers, same deal as a scalper.
Mm-hmm.
So I started going to forums and saving people's collection pictures so that it'd be different cameras, different houses, different games.
Yeah.
And I had this idea of screwing with Craigslist scalpers and resellers.
Mm-hmm.
I had this idea, this evil, diabolical master plan of going on Craigslist, like, hey man, I'm selling my copy of Earthbound,
Mm-hmm.
and then giving them an address like way out, like a county or two away, like an hour away. And like, yeah, come and meet me Saturday morning at 8 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
or, you know, prime yard sailing hours,
Mm-hmm.
so that all the sharks would be out and away, and I could
Yeah.
go around my area
Mhm.
and just clean up while they're on like a wild goose chase.
Mhm.
And I've seen stories with PS5 and Xbox Series X or whatever, where people are starting to do that. They're starting to be like, yeah, just meet me here, meet me there, and just wasting their time and
Yeah.
goofing on them, which
Mhm.
good.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know,
No kidding.
you're taking these away from kids on Christmas, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
And you know, with it being early hardware where there's going to be more system failures, think about that poor stooge that pays $1,000 for a new Xbox and then it shits out on him.
Yep.
Yeah, Microsoft will fix it for him, but you know, he was $1,000 excited for
Yeah.
that thing.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know. It's getting worse with the scalpers and the resellers.
It
And
is, man, because bot technology just keeps getting better.
it's, I don't know. I don't like doing that. I sell some of the games, but I don't sell it for like maximum. I try to cut people deals. You know,
Yeah,
if I
yeah.
paid 50 cents for something,
Mhm.
I don't need eBay prices. If I
Right.
can sell one item for half of what it's worth and it covers my entire expenditure for that lot,
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
all. That's great. And you know, someone else gets a deal. It's
Mhm.
kind of how I look at it.
Mhm.
And so I try to cut people deals when I sell stuff online. It's always the cheapest for that condition
Mhm.
when I sell online, just because I don't know. I just feel like I'm ripping people off if I'm getting that
Yeah.
maximum eBay
Yeah.
price.
Yeah. No, that makes sense, man. The scalpers, man, that they're just, God, it pisses me off. But what pisses me off even more is the fact that people are actually buying from them. Because if
Yes.
people would just stop buying from them, they wouldn't exist. Well, they probably still try, but I mean, there wouldn't be as many of them if people would just stop buying from
Well,
them.
that circus guy said it. A fool and his money are soon parted.
Yeah.
That's a P.T. Barnum or
Hmm.
whatever. Um, some wizened sage once upon a time said that a fool and his money will soon be
Hmm.
parted, and it's absolutely true.
Yep.
It's their money.
Right.
It's their money. You can do whatever nonsense you want with it.
Hmm.
I don't think investing in 5 copies of Earthbound is the smartest retirement plan.
Hmm.
But when you're like 80 years old and you're eating a can of dog food in an alley somewhere, I mean,
Hmm.
you look at those super valuable Earthbounds and Panzer Dragoon sagas and just think about what got you there,
Hmm.
buddy.
Yep. No, you're right, man. So, all right. So next thing I want to ask you about and get your thoughts on. So let me kind of lead into this. So if you look at what we've seen with music and movies in particular, right? Music and movies, it started with music. Music started to really transition to that digital era with Spotify and all these different music streaming services. Well, it started with iTunes and, you know what I mean? Music started to transition into that digital era. Now we're
Mm-hmm.
seeing it with movies and TV shows with, all these streaming services, Netflix and Amazon Prime and all these streaming services. We're seeing DVDs are gone pretty much. Well, you can still get DVDs when you buy a Blu-ray. Sometimes Blu-rays will have
Mm-hmm.
a DVD in it too. So there's still some DVDs out there. Blu-rays are starting to become less and less common. Physical media is slowly disappearing with music and movies. I don't think it will ever completely disappear eventually, but eventually it's going to get to the point to where it's very niche. It's a very, very niche market. And the same thing is starting to slowly happen with video games. We're seeing video games start to transition to this all digital era where you buy games digitally, and now we're starting to slowly get into the whole game streaming era. So games and it makes sense that games would be the last form of entertainment to reach that because, streaming a video game is a hell of a lot more complex technologically than streaming a movie or streaming music because you're playing the game, so you got
Have you
input
ever
lag to
played
deal
one of the
with.
streaming video game services?
I have not, and I honestly don't have any interest.
100% garbage.
That's what I've heard.
I think everyone kind of forgot about this. This was the only piece of physical hardware I got from a company for review was On Live.
Hmm.
This 2013, I think. You could do it through your computer, or you could get the On Live box, which
Hmm.
is, um, boy, I think I got it. I have absolutely no idea where the On Live is. It might be over here on my door on the controller
Hmm.
holding thing, but it streamed video games and it actually worked pretty decently. And from
Hmm.
what I can see, it actually worked better than Google Stadia. From the videos I've seen about Stadia,
Hmm.
this thing actually worked fairly well. It seemed to
Hmm.
have less issues, but it's an old idea. Um, I don't think it's going to catch on, even if you have like a fiber network, and
Hmm.
there's still going to be so much input lag that you're not going to be able to play something like
Right.
Doom
Right.
that way. Um, with movies and music, like I have my entire music collection on an SD card
Hmm.
that I've I took the same SD card through like 4 phones, and I recently bought an even bigger SD card because they're a lot cheaper now. I think it's like 256 gigabytes, this one that I just bought. So I've got like all my crap on an SD card. I was talking to a coworker. He's like, and then my wife signed into my Spotify account, and my playlist stopped while I was driving to work. And I was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, why would you have this problem? Just obtain your music and put it on an SD card. Like a lot of my older stuff's actual rips from CDs that I have. Or, you know, you find things on the internet from time to time. And, but you have it locally in case of an internet outage. It just seems so short-sighted. You know, I've one of my projects that I wanted to get done that's, you know, a more expensive project, and I regret not doing it before leaving this job, was setting up a network attached storage server so I could have a RAID array to back up MCTV so that it's like hard drive redundancy. And I was thinking about getting a Synology. It's a brand of NAS. It's basically a home server. And you got like 6 hard drives. And then a RAID array it's got the data backed up across multiple hard drives. So it's just a more secure way to store your data. And one of the reasons I wanted to do that is because I have a crap load of movies on my hard drive. And, you know, like I could use 20 terabytes of data. You know, I could do that because I like to have stuff. I like to have the stuff. And with movies and TV, like, you know, I subscribe to a couple streaming services, and that's fine for movies. But I also collect physical media. I've got like a pretty gnarly Laserdisc collection. I like to watch them from time to time. Music, you know, I don't go out of my way to collect any, you know, physical music. But I saw the wildest thing. I was at Aldi's last week, and they were selling vinyl records. Actual albums for sale at Aldi's, right? Like the place where you go to get the garbage mystery meat from Africa. It's like, what? Like, I understand that there's like hipsters or like audio enthusiasts that like the way vinyl sounds, but I'm just looking at this album at Aldi's on vinyl. It's like, what's going on? I don't think it's going to hit video games. They definitely want you to buy digital. I think the discless version of the PS5, I hope that thing flops. Just like the discless version of the PSP flopped. But they want to do that because they can charge you full price and not actually sell you something. Now I could see, I've always said this, a physical game costs $60, now $70, but I got it. It's in my hand. It looks cool on my shelf. I have something. If the digital version sold for like a third that price, now we're talking. That's why Steam's popular. You can like some of these older games that I bought on my laptop at work, and the Steam summer sale is like $1. Okay, I don't need physical. It's $1. So I can make that deal. And some of the Steam deals are really good. You know, they'll sell, you know, fairly recent games for $5 and $10. It's like, okay, now we're talking. But $70 for a digital game?
No way.
No thanks. I used to get my YouTube channel at one point had enough swing in it to where I could get download codes for review at least, you know. If you know who to email, it's not too hard to get a review code. And I had a buddy who's a professional, and I'd be like, yo, pal, who's the PR stooge? I want to play this game for free. And you know, you make a video, and you know, you get a free game, and then, you know, I got a couple ad dollars to talk about it. It's pretty sweet gig at the time. And there's a couple of those games that I got that just disappeared. Like, that's the thing about digital. They just disappear. And now they tell you, like, well, you've paid for it. It might disappear from the store, but you can always come back and get it. Sure. While the server still exists. And that's also not true. It was a copy of Magical Drop, which is like Puyo Puyo. It's like a matching color falling block game. You know, nothing amazing. But had I paid my $5.99 and it just completely disappeared, Like you can't go into your account and re-download it. Like it's gone. Like I'd be fucking furious.
Oh yeah.
Over that $6 because like I paid $6 and it was still within the PS3's lifespan. So like the only way I have access to that now is on my backwards compatible 60 gig PS3's hard drive, which is now like 12 years old. So how long is that thing going to be kicking? There's no way to really transfer it or re-download it. At least I think you can transfer it, but yeah, it's a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't like the digital market. If the games were selling for a significant, like if they're going for a third of the price, yeah, I might consider it from time to time because it is convenient.
Yeah.
You know, I got a big fat memory card on my Nintendo Switch, and it's convenient to just have all those games downloaded.
Oh, yeah.
But you know, I also like buying those limited limited run versions.
Yep.
You know, I like having those too. So
me too.
I don't know. I hope it doesn't catch on. And like I say, as time wears on, Sega Genesis seems way more cooler to me. Just as time goes on.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah, I haven't played them all yet. There's always something new and fun, exciting to play. There's always some new fan translation that's like, cool. Now I can check out, you know, Battle Golfer Yui, the robot golf RPG. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's way cooler than anything going on modern consoles, I think. So.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with everything that you just said. And another thing that I have a problem with digital gaming is it, in a way, it hurts game preservation because, you know, like you said, there's games that may just completely disappear off the digital marketplace and you can't buy it anymore, you can't download it anymore. And now you're forced, if you want to get that game, you're pretty much forced to pirate it if you want to get the game. If you can even find a pirated copy of it, which is not always guaranteed.
Another thing that started in the PS3 generation, even more in the PS4 generation, you get your disc and it's got like 75% of the game. You got your day one, like 30 gig patch now because they know they can get the product on the shelf and they can finish the game in the next 2 or 3 months.
Yes.
Before that, you know, gets boated from China and put in your hands. They are still finishing that game.
Oh, yeah.
Right up to like the day before it comes out. That's why we have all these day one downloads.
Even beyond sometimes.
You know, before the PS3 era, they had to have the game finished when they sold it, when they press it to a disc. Now, occasionally, you would get some bugs on those games still, but you know, the greatest hits versions would sometimes actually patch those.
Yeah.
Like God of War 2 is the example I think of because I bought that day one and I got a game ending glitch on my first run through.
Damn.
And that was kind of a bummer. But like the greatest hits version of that is got the bug patched, and you know, the HD remake has that patched, I believe, you know. But with newer games, you know, the disc isn't the whole game. So when the PS3 servers die and you go back and you're a retro gamer in 10 years in the future and PSN doesn't support PS3 anymore, you're not going to be able to download those patches.
Right.
You're just going to have a version 1.0 on the disc. And a lot of the time that's like broken trash. It just doesn't work. And, you know, these older game systems that rely on mechanical hard drives, you know, those things only have, they're expected to last about 5 years sometimes. So last 15 and 20, but you know, they're going to start crapping out after that 5-year mark. And so that's something that, you know, the kids that grew up in the, you know, mid 2000s get to look forward to, and they want to go relive their childhood. Well, tough shit, kid.
Yeah. Good luck.
I'll still be playing Sega Genesis. So it's, I don't know, it's just weird. And right, like video game preservation, a lot of the companies don't save this source code. They don't see any value in it beyond it's a product. We've sold product. Let's worry about next product.
Yeah. And then years down the road, some of them end up regretting not having that source code anymore if they want to try to like remake the game, for example. You know, not having that source code can hurt them. I've read a few stories about that where companies have lost the source code and it hurt the
The biggest
project.
one that I can think of is they didn't save the source code for Panzer Dragoon Saga,
Yeah.
a game that now, you know, everyone's hyped it up and talked about how cool it is, and it is a pretty cool game. They don't have the source codes; they'd have to build it from scratch, which I don't see the problem in that either. But
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
um, I don't know. I'm not a programmer. I don't know how much more work that really makes it or not. But it is a shame that they didn't preserve these things. And you know, like companies like Nintendo that go out of their way to kill ROM hosting sites and stuff. That what a pain in the butt, man. It used to be so much easier to just go download a full ROM set to put on your flash cart, and like you can still do it, but man. I'm so behind the times because I have so much less time to be an internet creature. And, you know, so I got like a couple of guys that I know are, you know, into this and that. And I'll be like, hey, yo, pal, can you hook me up with this and that? But it used to be so much easier when you could just go to Emu Paradise.
Yep.
And just be like, yeah, let me get this full set.
Cool ROMs, that was another one.
Man, I miss Web 1.0. Like, remember websites? When people used to go to websites?
Yep.
Everyone had a website, and now it's just, you know, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and it's just 3 or 4 websites that everyone uses and apps. And it's just really killed a lot of the flavor, you know?
Yeah.
People's fan sites for like a specific video game series. I miss that stuff. Those are
yeah.
And it's just not the same going to like generic wiki for every series, you know?
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean, man. I'm old enough to remember those days. I mean, you know, when I grew up, I remember living the internet, I mean, the World Wide Web has been around since before me or you were born, right? But I remember living before the internet was in the homes of millions of people across the world or across the country. I remember life pre-internet being readily available. You know what I mean? I remember what that was like, but then I also remember, like you just said, I remember the early days of the internet when it was readily available in people's homes and accessible.
I miss the daily death threats, honestly. I mean, you would get so mad, and your internet machine had a physical keyboard, so I mean, you could really type up some mean vitriolic comments for the mongoloid you were arguing with. And now it's like that's what I was saying. Like, you got a paragraph out of me on Instagram, so you know I was passionate about the subject. So I'm hammering it out on a fucking touchscreen. So you got to be dedicated. You don't get as many YouTube comments anymore because people are watching on smartphones.
Right.
So 2007, the iPhone is what killed the internet, because now every idiot, mouth breathing, knuckle dragging troglodyte had the internet. You used to, like, I had to configure a 28.8 kilobyte modem with the parallel port and a floppy disk. Most people can't do that. You know, it took a little bit of agency. You know, you don't have to be a super genius to figure it out, but you at least had to be able to read and follow instructions. And you'd be surprised at the amount of people in our population that cannot do such things.
Oh, trust me, I know.
And that kept those mongoloids off the internet, right? So now that every single person, you can't find me a person that doesn't have the internet. My mom, who doesn't know what an internet is, has an internet, and she uses it and posts on Facebook. And so that the internet had to cater to these people, you know. Now the internet isn't, oh, you go to your browser and you type in a URL. It's like you hit the Facebook button, makes the Facebook happen.
Yeah.
And you know, that's the level of discourse we have here. These are the people that are on Twitter, right? These are the people that are like, oh, let me give you my expert opinion. I hit the bird button, so I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Get
absolutely.
out of here, pal.
And you know what? That's a good segue into the last topic I want to talk to you about. So I don't. So I know obviously you're on Instagram. Are you on Twitter?
Yeah, and every one of my tweets is just my Instagram automatically
Hmm.
posts to
Nice.
Twitter.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll look at Twitter every now and then if I want to find something else
Hmm.
out, but it's such an echo chamber
Hmm.
of ghoulish idiots.
Hmm.
I'll get like push notifications, and I'm like, wow, why do I follow this person? Like, these
Hmm.
opinions are really bad.
Hmm.
But I'm not the kind of person to let people's dumb political takes ruin a friendship. So I just,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
talk
Right,
about it. I
right.
look at it and I go, like, oh man,
Yeah,
you really think that? That's what
yeah,
you believe. Okay. All right. Let's get off Twitter now.
yeah.
I try to keep Instagram 100% video games,
Hmm.
just my hobbies and interests.
Hmm.
I find that you do get a lot of stupid political takes on Twitter.
Hmm.
And even when it's just video game people that I follow, like I was trying
Hmm.
to find a Super Nintendo fan translation
Hmm.
today, and I ended up on the person's Twitter to see if they had any updates, and it's like stupid political opinions. Like,
Yeah.
guy, I don't want to hate you. I just want where's
Right. Yeah.
um. So I do have a Twitter. I don't really use it. If you tweet at
Hmm.
me, I will respond to it. I get the
Hmm.
notifications.
Hmm.
I actually get a lot more traction. Like I like looking at the stats on Twitter.
Hmm.
A lot of people are looking at them. I
Yeah,
get
yeah.
more eyeballs on that than Instagram sometimes. Um, I used to have a pretty cool setup. There was a couple of apps. Boy, what was it called? I got my phone. I can just look at my phone, I guess. If this, then that. So, like, whenever I post on Instagram, it'll put it
Hmm.
on my Facebook,
Hmm.
my Twitter, and then let me see, what was it? Buffer. Um, Buffer changed the way it worked, but I used to schedule my tweets,
Hmm.
and for the free version, or my Instagram posts. For the free version, you could write your Instagram posts in advance and schedule what time of day.
Oh,
So there was a
nice.
time where I was trying to maximize my
Hmm.
social media usage. So I'd
Yeah.
write like a bunch of really good Instagrams, get my hashtags all
Hmm.
set, and then I'd have it set to post at like 5 p.m.
Hmm.
I noticed I got a lot more action. So I'd have them Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 5 p.m. So I used to, before I had kids,
Yeah, yeah.
I made a couple of like MondoCool TV trailers, like minute-long videos, and had
Hmm.
them post like 3 times a day.
Nice.
Instead of paying for ads on
Hmm.
Instagram, I just had it post a couple times, then go back, delete, so that I don't have like redundant
Yeah.
posts. But so I'd get people seeing it, and
Yeah.
it actually works and made an impact, and I got some views, but you still got to put in the footwork.
Right.
Social media, I'm mostly on Instagram. If you tweet at me, it's
Hmm.
JerryTerrifying. I will respond. I'll see
Hmm.
it. But every now and then I'll look at hashtags on there just to
Hmm.
see if I'm missing out on anything. But mostly I mess with Instagram.
Yeah. Well, where I was going with that and what I wanted to ask you, so, you know, it's not so much on Instagram, thankfully, which is one of the things that I love about Instagram, but on Twitter and in YouTube comments and a lot of, well, Facebook is a whole different animal, but on Twitter,
That's for baby boomers. Who the
yeah,
hell's on
right, right,
Facebook? My
right.
mom uses Facebook.
But on Twitter especially, dude, in the gaming community on Twitter, it has become an absolute cesspool of negativity and toxicity and just people going at each other's throats over the stupidest shit instead of just having fun enjoying video games and talking about video games. Everybody just gets in arguments and fights and
Well, we got to
doesn't
worry
respect
about
each
this
other's
marginalized
opinions.
group. And what about the latest outrage I heard is the term blind
Oh
playthrough.
god, dude. Yes.
What?
You know
No
what
one's
the
talking about people that are blind. They're just I haven't seen it before.
and you know what the funny thing is, man? I was looking at some of those Twitter threads about that, and the funny thing is, I saw a large number of blind people that were tweeting saying, "Nobody asked us about this." I saw a lot of blind people saying, "I don't find this offensive at all. What are you talking
The
about?"
moral panic police, they're the same people
SJWs.
that they're the same people that 20 years ago said Pokemon was a product of Satan, right? These are people that have a hall monitor complex. They know
Yeah.
what's good for you and everybody else.
Right.
Steam got into a thing where they're talking about Latinx. Well, turns out Latinos and Hispanics don't use that. Like only a certain class of political activists uses this leftoid language. And the trick that they're using is you control the language, you control the thought. If you can't say fuck, you can't say fuck the police, right?
Right.
Not that I have that opinion. Up until recently, I worked for the police.
Right. Right.
Or the sheriff's department. Tomato, tomato. But you understand what I'm getting at. If you can't say fuck, you can't say fuck you.
Right.
You control the word, you control the thought. So that's why these language games are so important to these people. And it's just a moral outrage mob. And unfortunately for Twitter, they've banned an entire half of the political spectrum. So it's become an echo chamber for a loud, angry group of mongoloids that don't even play video games. They weren't going to buy your video game anyway.
Right.
They'll bitch about it and say the titty physics are disrespectful to the thing. And then, they go and they sell Titty Volleyball Simulator 7 and it like gets record numbers because the publisher just went ahead and published it and didn't listen to a bunch of whiny children.
Right. Yep.
And basically just don't listen to these people. Their opinions are dumb. And they're not going to buy your product anyway. But we still keep getting these dumb products. We still keep getting these dumb shows. And I'm going to just sit back and watch the dumpster fire burn itself out.
Yeah.
No one wants any of these movies with these political messages, these ham-fisted. It's escapism. We're trying to not.
Exactly.
Western civilization's burning down. I want to play Mario.
Yeah.
You don't put your politics in Mario. I want to jump, go wahoo, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the point. You don't like volleyball booby simulator 7? Don't buy it.
Don't
Shut
buy
up.
it, right.
Get a new hobby. Go do something. Go do something productive. Quit bitching.
I like what you said though, man, because just taking the Last of Us 2 controversies for example, I guarantee you, dude, that 75% or more of the people that were bitching and complaining about The Last of Us 2, number one, never bought it, and number two, never played it. I guarantee you.
Something, boy, my podcast, I used to have, I started my podcast because I heard another podcast and they said something inaccurate about the Sega Saturn Netlink. So I'm like, I'm going to make my own damn podcast and show these idiots.
Because you know your shit about that.
Right. I'm an expert in one thing. And and so that's where it started. And then over the course of the podcast, I had other secret enemies. Like I don't name people and start internet drama. That's dumb.
Yeah.
But,
right.
I'll be like, I have a problem with this and this is how I feel about it. And boy, what was it? So one of my enemy podcasts, this is another thing that's stupid on YouTube. People review games that they haven't played.
Yeah.
I was watching a competing YouTube channel that I knew. I met him in real life, talked to him. I helped him get free hosting for their stupid podcast for 3 hours. And when I asked if I could get the email address to a PR rep, they're like, oh, no, I can't do that. Fuck you, dude. I spent 2 hours on Skype helping you set your whole thing up. Screw you. But anyway, they put up a review of Deus Ex.
Human
the
Revolution,
one on PS3.
Mankind
The one on
Divided.
PS3.
Human Revolution. Yeah.
Okay, that one. And all of the video footage was from the tutorial, right? Because they wanted to get the review out on day one.
Yeah.
So they're faking a review.
Right.
You can tell that they hadn't played more than, the flipping tutorial. And they're probably just parroting what other reviews said so they could get it, in the first few days where they're going to get the most views. And that really bothered me. It's
See, that should be
excited about the game, do an
Right.
honest review, tell people that you only played the first 45 minutes. Call it a first impression.
Impressions. That's what I was about to say. Yeah.
So you got some idiot's going to watch this video and make their purchasing decision based on someone who played the tutorial. And that's the only new video game news I heard is about the award show coming up, and that someone felt The Last of Us is getting propped up a bit because it's got, its own political branding and, whatever messages it promotes, and that's what they want to highlight.
See, that's the funny thing, man. It doesn't promote. There's no political agenda
I
in that
ain't
game.
That shit. I ain't playing. I'm just going off what someone's opinion I heard.
Take it from me, someone who has played and beat the game. There's no political agenda in that game. That game is a revenge story. It is a game about revenge and the consequences of revenge. That's it.
The limited amount that I've read is that there's a new character they feel shoehorned into it for whatever reason, and the characters don't stand up to the characterization from the first game. I don't know. I haven't played either one of them.
Right.
My level of interest is low, but that's just some of the current goings-ons. The Cyberpunk 2077 or whatever, there's
Comes
like
out
just
tomorrow.
a shitstorm about all the reviews. Some Kotaku reviewer or whatever, it's like, well, I didn't do any of the side missions, I didn't do any of the mods and upgrades, you didn't play the fucking game, lady.
Right.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, your opinion sucks. Play the game.
They just rushed through the main story to get the review out.
I didn't really like any of the things, so I didn't do it. It's like, well, then your editor should have picked someone else that likes RPGs to play this RPG if you don't like doing RPG stuff. Seems like, your boss made a poor choice. Gaming journalism, man, I get so mad about it, and that's why I don't follow new games. I'll find The Last of Us at a yard sale for $1 someday, and I'll check it out. I'll give you an opinion then.
You can find it cheap.
Right. I like the thrill of the hunt. I like spending $5 or less for a game. Preferably $5 for a big box of games. That's my preferably. And you can find PS4 games at yard sales. Like, some dude's wife will definitely get rid of that crap for him. But yeah, I don't know, man. Twitter's a cesspool.
It is, man.
I engage with a few people. There's a guy that I talk to on Twitter that comes to my streams occasionally when I do a live stream, and he's all right. He's a cool guy. But like I said, I try to keep it not political unless I know you in real life.
Same here, man.
I try not to give any of my spicy opinions in a recorded format. And definitely when I was working for, the sheriff's department, I definitely couldn't do that on a recorded venue because I represent a elected official, so I really couldn't. So that's why I'm getting a little more heated now. That it's like, who cares? No one's monitoring my social media posts now. But Twitter sucks, man. They've gotten rid of half of the spectrum, so now you got something like Parler and Gab, where the other half of the spectrum is an echo chamber. So now you just got this choir preaching to that choir, that choir preaching to that choir, and everyone's just getting more and more mad at each other, and major American metropolitans are burning down. And literally all I wanted to do all along was just like talk about really cool video games. And here we are. Now there's mass shootings downtown when my friend from Tennessee comes to visit, and that's the impression you get of Dayton.
Hey, no, I did not let that mess up my impression of Dayton. Not one bit. I had, but outside of that, I had a fine time in Dayton. I had a good time.
It's the suburbs. It's the rest of the county that make up the Dayton experience.
But no, for me, man, I can't stand Twitter. I wouldn't even have a Twitter if it wasn't for the YouTube channel, because it's a great place for me to promote the YouTube videos. And I am connected with I have met some good people on Twitter that aren't involved in all the toxic and negative bullshit. But
I won't block you for having different opinions, but I will read it and get like, ooh, I disagree with you. But so many people, like, if you have a different opinion, they will just cut you off and equate you to the great Satan, and it doesn't need to be that way.
No. But as far as all the toxicity and negativity in the gaming community on Twitter, I just avoid it, man. I mean, I see it every time I go on Twitter, I see it, but I don't get involved in it. I might read some of it just to see what the hell's going on, but I don't reply to anybody. I don't get involved in it because I am the type of person that I have no room in my life for negativity or toxicity. I try to keep things as positive as possible because, man, when you start getting involved in all that negative shit, it has an effect on you mentally. It can, if you get too heavy into that shit, it can drag you down, man. And I don't have time or room in my life for any of that. So
So
just like with the channel, I try to keep things positive on the YouTube channel. I don't get into drama or any crap on like that because I just have no interest in it.
I like everyone to be able to voice their opinions.
Yeah,
Something
yeah,
I've
of
never
course, yeah.
done and never have done is I've never blocked anyone and
Mm-hmm.
I've never deleted a comment. You
Right.
don't like me and you want to tell people about it, that's fine. I might get a
Mm-hmm.
little grumpy about it and I might
Mm-hmm.
start to write a big F you and then I usually delete it. I'm like, yeah, it's out of my system now.
Yeah, yeah.
One of my buddies, I saw his Twitter. Occasionally I'll go on Twitter and I'll see him and he's like, someone had an opinion about me and I usually don't block people, but I did. I'm just sitting here
Mm-hmm.
thinking like, Dan, come on, man. It's like, let this
Mm-hmm.
idiot have his opinion. But what I used to do back in the day is I would quote the people that talked shit
Mm-hmm.
on my YouTube profile. So here, they're still here because I haven't updated this in probably 12 years. I'm not watching an 80-year-old girl throw Game Boy games at a dinosaur-aged rock. Good luck with the views you didn't deserve. You didn't deserve the subscribers.
What?
That's a quote. I put that right on my profile page. I will tell you what is terrifying. Your fucking bullshit reviews. They rank. You're a cheap son of a bitch, and thanks for stating everything that every reviewer has already mentioned, right down to the Ninja Gaiden.
Oh God.
I think that's a way like more solid
Mm-hmm.
response is to just okay. See, a lot of these are nice. Okay, here's one that I never figured out. So what drives you to objectify women and use profanity in such a fucking dorky way? I'm guessing that you're a goddamn nerd.
What?
Thank you, the nasty stud. Most of my newer YouTube videos, like starting with MondoCool TV, I
Mm-hmm.
stopped cussing, and I've in my personal life, I have a potty mouth big time,
Mm-hmm.
and I've really tried to tone it down because of my kid. She started saying the F word.
Yeah.
So we told her that nasty girls say the F word, and she
Mm-hmm.
has stopped. And I really police my language when
Mm-hmm.
I'm around her. When I get heated, I still
Mm-hmm.
have a bit of a potty mouth, but so I don't know what I said that got this guy grumpy about it. This guy I actually agree with. Please stop painting consoles. You're not very good at it. In fact, you're shit. That's, hey man, bullseye. I did one or two that were good, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we quit that experiment pretty quick. So I've only gotten like a handful of nasty comments,
Mm-hmm.
and I like to I like to put those on the profile
That's funny.
because you highlight them, man. Like don't get mad. People are gonna talk shit on the internet. Like I said, I miss the death threats, man. I've said some pretty nasty things to people online, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the point of anonymity.
Mm-hmm.
You go back in time, YouTube used to tell you under no circumstance do you tell people your real name or where you live.
Yeah.
Like a child predator or murderer will find and kill you if
Mm-hmm.
you do those things. Don't do those
Mm-hmm.
things. Now it's like you have to use your real name.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to do that to get people from talking a bunch of shit because they want to sell ads.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
That's what it's about.
Yeah.
That's all these YouTube ad apocalypses. They used to just put ads on whatever. Who cares? People that say bad words chew bubble gum, right? Like, who cares? Like, the whole point of YouTube was that it was not TV. That's why people were looking at it more than TV.
Right.
That's why the advertisers came, and now they're just trying to turn it into TV 2.0.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I want the guy with the crappy camera who's schizophrenic and on 18 different mental meds to tell me what he thinks about Sega Dreamcast. That's the opinion I want.
Oh, awesome, man. Yeah, that makes sense. So listen,
No, it doesn't.
No, it does. I mean, it does make sense in a way. I mean, I get where you're coming from there, man. Especially if you hate gaming journalists.
Any opinion is better
Yeah.
than a gaming journalist's opinion because they're just failed political journalists, right? They're just journalists that couldn't get a job at a real newspaper. So now they have to whine about video games that are too hard for them. And most video games aren't even hard anymore.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah. So listen, man, I think it's about time to start closing out the podcast. Is there anything else you want to say before we close it out?
yeah, I've got it all out of my system.
Nice. Well, man, it's been awesome having you on, dude. Always fun to talk to you. And everybody, I will leave a link to Jerry's YouTube channel in the description down below. I'll throw a MondoCool TV episode link down there too. I highly encourage you to check out his MondoCool TV episodes because they're really, really well put together, very informative, and I guarantee you'll learn a lot. And I'll also throw his social media in the description down below too, Instagram and Twitter, so that you can go follow him on there. And yeah, man, it's been good to have you on. It's been fun getting your thoughts on some of these things. I like getting people's thoughts on some of these topics, man, because they're topics that I'm, usually very passionate about, kind of off camera. You know what I mean? I don't really bring them into the YouTube channel much, except on this podcast. But yeah, I appreciate you sharing your thoughts, man, and it's been fun having you on, and definitely looking forward to making it back up to Dayton because I want to. With both you and Sean, I'd like to do a what's new in the game room video where we do kind of like a game room update. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, like I said, when I was working at this last job, man, I racked up a lot of crap.
yeah, nice.
Lots of impulse purchases on
Yep.
the eBay.
Yep.
So there'll be plenty to talk about.
Hell yeah. Well, man, it's been good to have you on, and everybody out there, check out Jerry, check out his channel, check out his social media, and until next time, everybody, keep playing games and having a good time, and we'll see you in the next one.